right, so we're going into a brain. So the levels can be anything. And they are fantastic. I cannot adequately get across to the listener how cool some of these levels are.
Hello and welcome to Rock, Paper, Shotgun. My name is Colin Mahern and I've recently been playing through the 3D puzzle platformer sequel that's been years in the making, Psychonauts 2. While the first one is held up as a proper great, it's been a while since it came out, so we'll get into what this game actually is in our review chat for those that haven't played the original. I say we because I've brought on Deputy Editor Alice Bell. She's also played through the game and I wanted to chat to her about her thoughts on Psychonauts 2, so let's get chatting. It's been 15, 16 years in the making, Alice. Psychonauts 2, finally here. So, before we get into the nitty gritty, what did you think?
I thought it was great, yeah. Really good.
Good stuff.
Well done.
Because it has been so long, a lot of kids out there probably missed Psychonauts first time around. I was one of them. I only played the first Psychonauts this year, a couple of months ago. What's the setup?
Okay, so in Psychonauts, you play a little dude called Rasputin Aquato, his name is. But Raz has psychic powers, which is just a thing some people can have in that universe. Some people, when they have psychic abilities, they join the Psychonauts, who are sort of like secret agents for the mind. Although in kind of Avengers style, it does often seem like the threats they face are very specific to them and then kind of do become a problem for the larger world, but it's sort of their fault for existing in the first place. So, there's something to be learned there maybe, but whatever, we'll breeze past that. And you do sort of like missions in people's minds. A little door attaches to their head and then you can jump through it and then you're in their head. And when I say that, I don't mean you're squishing around their skull. You are inside their subconscious and it's weird and good.
And somewhat of a throwback as well, because it is a 3D platformer, something that we don't get an awful lot of these days. The first one, the biggest complaint normally levied at it, apart from the meat circus, is the actual act of platforming, the jumping around. How did you find the moment-to-moment platforming?
Yeah, I think it's good. They give you a lot of like psychic powers that sort of play into it as well. So there's one that you can zip between errant thoughts that appear as little dots that you can zip to and stuff like that. So they put in some sort of different ways of traversing as well. I generally find 3D platformers a bit fiddly. I don't know what it is. Maybe I've just not got the depth perception. I don't know, but I'm not great at judging the distances and stuff, I think. I thought it was all right.
I think it's much better than the first one. The first one had quite a floaty jump. This is much better. It does run into some depth perception issues sometimes when you're jumping on smaller suspended platforms.
Yeah.
There are some sections that can be a little bit fiddly.
Yeah.
But overall, much better. And yeah, as you say, there are plenty of powers as well to help you, be it ones from the first game like the Levitation or some of the new powers, like you mentioned, the mental connection, where you zip between thought clouds.
I like that one. It's a mechanic that comes up a little bit where you can zip to these thoughts and some of them will be actual concepts, like cilantro was one, and then there's like disgust and pleasure, and you can change connections so you can make someone who previously did not like cilantro, which is fun. But also the lesson there is like, don't change someone's mind for them, because there's a reason they don't like cilantro.
I did quite like a lot of the new powers. There aren't tons of them. A lot of them are what you've seen in the first one, but
you get to slow time.
Yes, the time bubble.
So maybe like that you're doing a bit of platforming and there's a thing whizzing around really fast and you slow it down so you can jump on it or through it without getting hurt, that kind of thing. That's a good one. I like that.
Is that it?
Whether then you or not, you can fire like a kind of mind gun. I guess you can telekinetically pick things up and then lob them or carry them around.
Did you ever find it fiddly, messing around with all of the abilities, or were you...
Yeah, so you can map them to... Well, I was playing with controller most of the time, so you map them to your bumpers and triggers, but I think there's a problem the first one had as well. You kind of want to keep some of them in the same place, like you always want to put the Psi gun on like, right bumper or right trigger or whatever, because that's where it is, that's where it lives, and then you know where it is, so you kind of don't want to remap them. I kind of only remap to couple.
Whenever the situation called for it.
Yeah, but I think that's the sort of thing that really is only massively annoying if you're having to like cane playing it in, a set amount of time. Like when you're reviewing something.
Yeah, I don't know for definite if it was the same in the first one, but in this, some enemies that you come across will be weaker against certain abilities that you have, which, you have to go in, maybe change your abilities around. I did still like that, like the little gloopy doubts are weak against fire, the sensors are weaker against the Psi Blast, the panic attacks, you have to use your time bubble, so if you don't have that equipped, you have to go in and equip that. Whilst, maybe a little fiddly going in and messing around, but still, I really like the combat, I really like the jumping. As a game, I think it plays far better, no shit Sherlock, it's 15, 16 years later, it probably is going to play better than the old one, but it does. Look, I mentioned the enemies, they sort of tie into the main themes of the game because they've introduced a lot more depth, I suppose, to the story and to the world.
So I played a bit of the original Psychonauts quite recently as well, and it's still, I think, the best thing about the first one and this one as well is the level design is just amazing. Like when you're like, right, so we're going into a brain, so the levels can be anything and they are fantastic. I cannot adequately get across to the listener how cool some of these levels are. There's a really brilliant one that is hair themed, and it's this whole town made out of hair, but also there's a flood is happening, so there are these big waves of hair. They're like a snapshot, and they're made of hair with like rollers in and stuff, and they look just incredible. There's a really great sort of Beatles Yellow Submarine-esque musical themed 60s trippy bit that's absolutely fabulous as well. The first level, you're inside like an office but with sort of teeth and gums protruding everywhere. It's just amazing, but it's also a bit less kind of wacky. Not by loads, I should say. It's still, oh, what's going on? Like
it is still quite out of the ordinary, I suppose.
Yeah.
But in terms of the actual story that they're trying to tell, it's a bit more measured than the previous one.
Yeah, and it's some of the characters are kind of a bit, there's more sort of like them dealing with real issues in a more sensitive way, I suppose. It's not like they'll sit down and give you a lecture, but you'll go into someone's head and encounter the fact that they have anxiety about being, left by their loved ones. There's one that's loads of plants everywhere, but also, and to do with gardening, but also it's full of like bottles and like drinks. The plants sort of look like cocktail glasses with olives kind of sticking out of them and stuff. And you realise that that's to do with like this person's childhood and stuff. It's dealing with real issues, but it's not marketing itself as super serious. And I think it kind of works. I think it gets the balance right. It's this person trying to deal with stuff now, to deal with their feelings about those things now, rather than being like really gritty depictions of that stuff happening.
Yes.
So I think it works. But it all ties in such an amazing way. And like there's a great attention to detail where like the health boxes or the enemies, like the sensors, will look a little bit different depending on the level that you're in. In one level where you're in a hospital, they are just like boxes of hospital goods. But then in another where you're in a sort of opulent, luxurious route, the health boxes are like Fabergé eggs. It's amazing. The level design is just outstanding.
Thanks very much for chatting with me today, Alice. And if you, dear viewer, would like to check out Alice's written review of Psychonauts 2, then be sure to have a read of it on the website. Thanks very much for watching, you absolute star. But before you go, I'm going to stick a door on your forehead and then jump through it. And then I'm going to connect the thought bubbles that say PC gaming needs and rock, paper, shotgun. Because you need to remember that for all of your PC gaming needs, just keep it on rockpapershotgun.com.